Next, we'll hear opponent testimony from Les Bernal from Stop Predatory Gambling. Welcome.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee. My name is Les Bernal, and I'm the National Director for Stop Predatory Gambling. And we are a national nonprofit organization that pulls from members of all political stripes in all 50 states. And I want to make sure we're clear that we do not accept financial contributions from commercialized gambling interests. So we submitted very detailed testimony to this committee, highly footnoted. I encourage all of you to please review that for more substantive research about the truth about predatory gambling in Ohio. But so to make 2 or 3 quick points here. One is, why is our membership here in Ohio and across the country so passionate about the problem of predatory gambling here in Ohio? And that is, you're in grammar school, all of us learn that the democratic principle of no taxation without representation, right? It's one of our core democratic principles as a nation. Today in Ohio and in most other states in our country, we have a system of taxation by exploitation. And that's what you heard today. Much of the first testifiers kept telling more revenue, more revenue. The prior hearing last week, it's all about revenue. It's a system of taxation by exploitation. And so we always say, Mr. Chairman, you had said, some type of sports gambling was already here, and we just people could already gamble on sports in Ohio prior to you legalizing it. Like you and I could already make a friendly wager on a Cleveland Browns game. That was already legal. What was illegal is we couldn't run the gambling house. And the reason why it was illegal is, yes, gambling is highly addictive, but that's not why it's illegal. Commercialized gambling is illegal because it falls in the family of consumer financial fraud and the family of price gouging and false advertising when you're the gambling house. So that's why it's illegal. It's a con. And the way when people promote this and they talk about it, that's part of the con. So we've seen, over the last 3 or 4 years, we've seen story after story nationally about the rising price of eggs and the impact it's having on family budgets. Well, what's the impact of this Ohio state-sponsored commercialized gambling is having on family budgets here in the state? And a gentleman before me took some of our analysis, so I won't go through all of it, but just it's important to understand, no one talks about the numbers, the wealth. Over the next 5 years, your constituents are on course. If you add up all the losses to the lottery, casinos, and video gambling terminals in the state, more than $24 billion of lost personal wealth from your constituents. That's just in the last fiscal year alone, fiscal year 2024, $4.73 billion of lost personal wealth from your constituents. That breaks down to $9,100 a minute, $9,100 a minute the people of Ohio are losing to forms of gambling that the state is sponsoring. Okay? And so you have to add up all the losses since the casinos were able to ram through the constitutional amendment, to get themselves legalized. So starting back in 2012, if you add up all the financial losses to state casinos, to the state lottery, and online gambling, it's more than $38 billion of personal wealth. That's a lot of eggs. That's a lot of eggs. We had the gentleman from AFP talking about reducing flattening the property tax, flattening the income tax. Someone else asked about property tax relief. Your constituents have lost $38 billion in the last 13 years. No one in Ohio is paying less taxes today.
And I apologize if you could try to summarize the next 30 seconds.
I will. So the last thing I'll say is just kind of touching on, committees like this and many lobbyists, they focus on the money. Like that's where the focus is, on the money. So let's focus on why hundreds of thousands of Ohioans are already suffering. It kind of reminds me of the unforgettable scene in the Titanic, when the boat is sinking and we watch the men who are fixated on their own well-being and security, they jump into the lifeboats. And then they look away from the thousands of people in the ocean, in the sea, who are drowning. These gambling operators and the lobbyists pushing for this bill, they're the lifeboat men. It's time state officials of Ohio, your constituents need you to pull them out of the water in ways that help improve people's lives. And rejecting this online gambling scheme is a major step towards helping your constituents not sink any deeper into the sea they're in.
Thank you so much for your testimony.